jumping back into the serious topic of the day.
So many of the conspiracy theories that have been promulgated by Republicans from the beginning of this one turned out to be bogus. If the email that you're talking about had been if you had seen it earlier, what would you have said? Well, it doesn't really have a bearing on the CIA talking points that we released, because Republicans staffers on the Hill were feeding them to some reporters, falsely characterizing them.
All right, there's Jay Carney doing the backpedal, and I'll use the word lie. This is right out of if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Join me this time from Washington D.C. from the White House Dossier, the founder, the president of the White House Dossier at WhiteHouseDossier.com is Keith Koffler. Keith, welcome. Your response to Jay Carney's response to all this email revelation that's coming out.
Yeah, well, Jay's a little desperate, I think, because he knows full well that email that they sent out as part of the prep of Susan Rice does pertain exactly to Benghazi. And the problem for the White House is that they did not release this email to the committees. And so by doing that, they are potentially in contempt of Congress. Some Republicans have said it may be an illegal act. So he has to stand there and give the preposterous statement that this is not related to Benghazi. The email specifically talked about protests. At that time that the email was written by Ben Rhodes in the White House considered the Benghazi action a protest, the result of a protest. And it was the worst of all the protests because 4 Americans were killed. And to say now that this is not Benghazi related, it just stretches all credulity, and I think it helped lead directly to the formation of what we're seeing here, a special committee on Benghazi. Finally, Speaker John Boehner has decided to do that.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question, Keith, I asked our previous guest, Neil Monroe, the White House reporter from the Daily Caller, because I think it's an important question. Do you believe or do you not believe that the media is going to take this thing seriously as a smoking gun, or are they going to dismiss it and accept the White House's explanation that this email thread is really nothing more than talking about all the demonstrations in general?
They're not going to take it seriously at all. They already have not taken it seriously. It's buried in all the newspapers around the land. It's only, conservative outlets or somewhat right-leaning outlets that have handled this. They are just still not taking this seriously. They seem to be taking what Carney says at face value. There are a few exceptions, though. Jonathan Karl of ABC News, Ed Henry of Fox News, Major Garrett. There are some exceptions, but I don't see them running with it. And every time something new like this comes out, the line that you hear from a lot of the media is, here's the big chance for Republicans to politicize Benghazi and to use this into the 2014 elections. And so that, more than anything, is how they're going to handle it. But it's just a very clear case of you said lying. Well, basically, that's what it is.
Now, as you know, John Boehner earlier today announced a special committee to investigate Benghazi. Do you believe, I know this is going to sound cynical, but politics is cynical. Do you think that John Boehner genuinely wants to get to the bottom of the truth here? Or is this a tactic in an election year to fire up the base? Because as you say, the mainstream media is not covering this, which means by and large, the average citizen who doesn't follow politics or is left of center is not going to be interested in this. But who is interested is the base of the Republican Party.
Cynicism in Washington? Are you kidding me? Well, of course. Yes, this has elements of both, basically. And I think, like a lot of things in Washington, there are elements of politics and elements of reality mixed in with it. On the political side, Boehner has a couple of issues here. First of all, he's getting a lot of heat from conservatives over comments he's made recently on immigration. He wants to move immigration. So he felt a lot of pressure from conservatives to do this Benghazi panel. Second, on the political side, yes, this is going to keep Benghazi in the news all the way up to November 2014. Even if the mainstream press covers this cynically and says it's political, they're still going to be covering it, and people are still going to be hearing about Benghazi. So Republicans are not immune from political motives. On the other hand, I understand that Boehner genuinely is angry that this White House did not release the email that we were just talking about, and that he feels there's other stuff. He's had it with them, and that's what finally brought him to convene this special committee to see what else it is that the White House is hiding. So
really,
there is some genuine aspect to it, but it's also political. Yeah, I think he now shares some of the anger. I think he always has to some extent, but I understand that he was really upset about this, that this email was not released to the public. It's very clearly about Benghazi. He's probably sick of the spin that's coming out of the White House, which is trying to say that something that should have been released, was just, maybe they were talking about whatever else. It was a Benghazi email, and that is also part of what is animating this decision.
That is an important point to bring up, and you say it in such a way that you have credible sources and relationships in place that lead you to this conclusion. That's what I take from what you said, Keith.
That's my understanding. I would say that is it something that I can be 100% sure of? No, but my understanding is from a couple of people that I've talked to that he really is angry, and that is part of this as well. Which bodes, which indicates that Boehner may really give this committee some power and move forward with it. Look, he's let the cat out of the bag here, and they can't go halfway with this. Once this committee gets started, possibly under Trey Gowdy, who's a very aggressive young Republican congressman, they are going to pursue this very aggressively, and who knows where it might lead.
Keith, we have to leave it right there, but that's an important point. I'm glad you got that in, and we'll see how aggressive they pursue it. That will tell us how serious they are about this. The other point is, I agree with you. Boehner needed to get something off of his rhetoric on immigration. Keith Koffler, White House dossier. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Coming up next, our Jagoff of the day. Who will it be? Stay with me. You're watching The Rick Amato Show on One American News.